Hey team, and welcome back to another video in our Astrological Magical Elections video series. I'm Ryan Butler, and I'm here with my co-host Lee, and my co-host Ty. Who's over there. Right there. Get her in focus. No, that's not what I wanted you to focus on, but okay, sure. Ty over there, looking judgmental. And this might be an interesting video, because while Ty and Lee generally get along with one another, Lee likes to bother her, and she does not enjoy to be bothered, as you can imagine, so that might be something that happens. Another thing, two other things, my screen recording software, for whatever reason, decided that it was done, so I'll have to troubleshoot what that's about. So so I won't be able to like show the charts and draw on them and stuff like I usually do, but they'll just be pictures instead, so sorry about that, still images. And then my overhead light in my office is starting to go out, and I have not gotten around to replacing it yet, so seizure warning, it may start flickering, which is not fun for anybody involved, but if then there's Lee's tail. So other than that, other my disclaimers about how things may go wrong, we are here today to talk about the magical electional opportunities that are going to be available to us between our Sagittarius New Moon on November 23rd and our Gemini Full Moon on December 7th. And after a while of having rather like a lack of electional opportunities, or if we did some kind of like lackluster ones, I'm proud and very happy to say that the seal is finally broken. And now we have what I would consider a more... Lee, I swear to God! Now we have what I would consider a more normal electional period, like a more normal amount of elections for this 2-week period that we're in right now. So that's really great. Very fun to be able to come in off of like the backside, I guess, of this, where we didn't have a lot going on. Now we have a lot more, kind of a much more normal tone. And of course, this is especially great because it's the waxing moon, so we're focused more on talismans that are themselves focused on growth and gain, and that's probably something that we could all really use after having gone through, eclipse season just recently in the recent past. So all that to say, some stuff is different with the mechanical, electrical stuff going on, but some things are the same, and that is that we're kind of back to our more normal amount of electional opportunities for a lunation, so that's really fun. So we're going to go ahead and dive on into it. We've got about 3 to 5 elections in each location. So let's go ahead and get started, starting with North America. Well, I have Lee pinned down now, so hopefully he will not... There, he's now pinned down. Very happily so, as you can tell. It's time for your close-up, Lee. Not me, him. Boom. I've Lee pinned successfully. Hopefully he will stay here and not terrorize me, but the chances of that are slim. For some reason, he really likes it when he can put his head in my hand. I can just rub his forehead like this. I don't know if it's massagey, if this is cat massage or what, but he really enjoys this a lot. So he'll just wants me to he puts his face in my hand. Now I've talked about it, and he's like, All right, so our first electional opportunity for the North American continent is going to be on November 27th at 10:30-ish in the morning. This chart here is set for 10:37, and this is going to be an opportunity for a 24th Lunar Mansion. Now, the 24th Lunar Mansion is another really fun one, probably one of the more powerful growth, or kind of waxing moon-oriented talismans. And the reason for that is that traditionally in the Pegatrix, the 24th Lunar Mansion is used for fertility. So there's, pregnancy, childbirth, child rearing aspects involved, but also for multiplication, particularly multiplication of herds, which is why the suffumigation that's listed on the card here is bull or ram's horn, because the Pegatrix says that if you want to increase your cattle herd, if you want to increase cattle, you do the talisman with bull's horn. If you want to increase goats or sheep or something like that, then you would use that specific horn as well to do the ritual with. So the idea here seems to be very much one about whatever you work on with the talisman, or work the talisman on, whatever that substance is, that is the thing, or that is sympathetic to the thing that multiplies itself. So I usually recommend the 24th Lunar Mansion when it comes to finances because it's very easy just to draw the image of the 24th Lunar Mansion on like, a $5 bill or something like that. And that can kind of be it. Of course, you can go a little bit more and, actually, I'm sorry for the flickering. This is my life. You can do more. You can be a bit more involved and actually, choose something that's like that. That's kind of in a similar vein to multiply in the same way. Or you can just use the Lunar Mansion talisman on like a paper like you would normally do, and tell it specifically what you would like to be multiplied. That's totally fine too. But there is kind of that theme of like rapid growth, rapid gain. Things just keep multiplying or stacking up on top of each other, which can be very helpful, but also a little bit overwhelming. So you kind of want to be careful about how exactly you move forward with the 24th Lunar Mansion. But what's the worst thing that could happen? You find yourself drowning in cats. What a nightmare. So our next electional opportunity is actually going to be basically for a day and an hour later. No. Yeah, a day and an hour later. This time on November 28th at around 11:37 a.m. And this is basically just Lee's show now. I'm just here, but this is now his show. So enjoy this ASMR, I guess. I guess it's not really ASMR. If he's not, you can't hear him purring. But on November 28th, we have an opportunity for a 25th Lunar Mansion talisman. And the 25th Lunar Mansion is kind of a weird one. So the 24th Lunar Mansion, that one that we talked about previously, was used kind of primarily for husbandry, right? So primarily for raising animals or assisting in the preservation and multiplication of herds of animals. The 25th Lunar Mansion is a little bit more on like the agriculture crop side, to where the 25th Lunar Mansion is one that is very much focused on like plant health. So it can be very useful for individuals who are, gardeners or farmers to help protect their crop and their livelihood. But one thing that we often find with these kinds of talismans that are focused on agriculture, or like on agricultural concerns, or on, several other similar concerns, whether they're focused on husbandry specifically, or even on fishing or things like that, like kind of the more farming agriculture angles, is that they also have utilizations for kind of prosperity in general, just because of how, of course, one thrives and how one succeeds when you have a bountiful harvest, or, healthy cattle, a good fishing haul, that either translates directly into food and provisions for your family, or if, extra can be sold or traded with others. So there's still that like monetary gaining aspect to it, even if that's not 100% what you are in a position to really capitalize on. Not all of us are farmers, not all of us have access to that. So some of these talismans that have these kinds of applications might seem kind of like, oh, that's not really for me, but you can make it for you, and I definitely recommend that. So the 25th Lunar Mansion, like I said, definitely one you can utilize for plants and crop health if that's something that you are focused on, one way or another, or you can always just use it for cold, hard cash. So taking a look at our election here, the 25th Lunar Mansion is... Oh, bye, Lee. Bye. Gotta go. Oh, but actually, he just wants to be sitting up and be a pet now. So, just a change of orientation. I'm back. I guess you probably forgot that this was actually my show and not his, so... Surprise! Now that I'm not petting him, he's going to act upset for a second and just like not look at me. And then he'll be like, oh, but wait, I actually need attention. I actually need to be pet right now. So, the screen recording software that I normally utilize also handles the recording, so that's probably why my recording sounds a little bit different. It's like when I gesture, he like comes at me. But the software that I normally use to record my screen also records my audio at the same time, so that's probably why my audio sounds a little different. I believe in the past it just sounded kind of quiet, and I liked how the screen recorder recorded it at a little bit of a louder volume for everybody. So I apologize if you're like having to like, what did he say? But taking a look at our election for the 25th Lunar Mansion, the moon is in the 25th mansion and she is conjoined the ascendant. So we have that moon in the mansion, very angular. And in this chart, she is applying the sextile to Venus. And that is itself very helpful because Venus is a planet that is very much focused on growth and, gain and things like that. Like, she's a benefic planet. She wants things to grow and succeed and be healthy, and we want that too. Especially if it's more like monetary prosperity focused. And while many might find the moon's conjunction to Saturn here a little disappointing, or kind of like, oh, why would you do that for? I would also like to point out that Saturn actually has very deep ties to agriculture. So just kind of keep that in mind. Any sort of profession that ends up working with the Earth, Saturn is going to have a say in. So I don't super dislike Saturn for this talisman, even though generally we would avoid Saturn just because Saturn's a malefic planet, and malefic planets tend to not want things to grow. But in this instance, since we're kind of tapping back into a much deeper kind of symbol here with Saturn, and of course Saturn rules the first house, I don't really mind it as much. And then of course just making sure that none of these planets are afflicted by Mars, since he's really the only one out there. And we do not have that happening right now. So our third electional opportunity for North America is going to be on December 1st, Merry Christmas, at 1938. And this is going to be an opportunity for one of two things, so pick your poison. It's either going to be an opportunity for a 28th Lunar Mansion talisman, which is primarily one... Oh, we've really hit the trifecta for agriculture talismans, agriculture adjacent talismans, because the 24th was for like cattle and husbandry. The 25th is for agriculture and crop growth, and then the 28th is for like fishing. So if you're in the middle of playing a medieval colony survival simulator, here you go. I just really stacked the deck in your favor here. But the 28th Lunar Mansion is one that can be not only utilized for fishing, it can still do that, but it can also be utilized for like the gathering of opportunities to pick and choose from. So very helpful for people who are looking to diversify their income, or are looking for like new job opportunities or new relationship opportunities or whatever, just like trying to find something new. It's that sort of plenty of fish in the sea approach to finding new things. So very helpful, very good talisman. I recommend it a lot to people, especially for people who maybe don't know where they want to go, and they can kind of choose from what feels best from the offers that are on the table or things like that. So very useful. Also very useful for people who are in like self-employed type situations, like self-employed consulting like me, to help draw in new clients or more clients and things like that. So generally a very helpful talisman, very helpful all around. So you have that aspect of it, and we'll talk about that chart here, and it's just very simple. The moon's in the 28th Lunar Mansion. She's in the midheaven. She's conjoined. I'm like motioning at my screen with my mouse, like you can see it because my screen recorder's down. Old habits die hard and whatnot. Conjoined Jupiter on the midheaven. And Jupiter is, of course, the greater benefic, who's all about, multiplication of opportunities and success and things like that. So very good talisman, a very good conjunction to take advantage of here. The moon rules the first house. And she's not she's not square Mars here. She's far enough away to not worry about it, 10 degrees distant. And she's not in a bad aspect with Saturn. Same thing with the ascendant degree. So everything looks fine there. The alternative, the other kind of thing is this can be a Jupiter planetary talisman as well, because this does take place for Jupiter's day and hour. So this is like probably literally the last chance for a Jupiter and Pisces talisman. He has 1 degree and 6 minutes to go before he's in Aries, then that's it, and won't go back to Pisces for another 12 years. So kind of a good last opportunity. It's not a super awesome opportunity, I'll say, because Saturn is freshly direct. So there is still, I don't think Jupiter is not technically stationed in this degree right now. But Jupiter is moving so slow that I keep calling it Saturn. That's how bad it is. So we still have that slowness, and that can be, that's not something that I would 100% want in my planetary talisman, but it is kind of your last opportunity that you're going to have. So if you don't have another one, or you weren't able to get, a better opportunity during this Jupiter and Pisces transit, not even just this most recent one where, Jupiter kind of dipped its toe back into Pisces, but throughout the entire stay in the sign, then I would get it even if it does take a while for something to happen with it. And then our final electional opportunity for the North American continent is going to be on December 2nd at around 1:30 p.m. This chart's set for 1325. And this is going to be an opportunity for a first Lunar Mansion talisman. And the first Lunar Mansion is a really fun one. It is for starting things. It's for kind of getting that motivation, that fire under you to get and go and accomplish and do things, maybe that you've been putting off, kind of your anti-procrastination talisman. Suddenly I have all these spoons to do things with talismans. How cool is that? And it can just be a very powerful kind of propellant to get you forward and get you moving, especially, like I said, if there's been some form of a hesitancy or lack of energy or procrastination or something like that that's held you back. The first lunar mansion is really great about just kind of powering through it and getting you that, you know, the saying like an object at rest stays at rest, an object in motion stays in motion, kind of that, and helping you kind of get over that, that inertia to kind of start that momentum building and stay and keep in motion to keep forward. So very helpful for those kinds of situations. In our chart here, we have the moon in the first mansion. She's angular in this chart, but she's a little bit pulled back from the angle, and we'll talk about why in a second. At this time, she's applying a trine to the sun. Of course, sun trines I really enjoy. I like this one. The sun itself is like the source of vital energy and heat for the universe at large. I really like this one because, of course, the sun is the source of energy and vital heat for astrology and, you know, our universe at large, at least. And having that kind of tapping into that power, especially while the sun is in a fire sign, I think is fun to really kind of get you slingshot you where you need to go or catapult you where you need to go. And I'm specifically using war projectile terminology because the sun is in Sagittarius, and I think that's fun. But you do want to kind of maintain the Pisces ascendant, in my opinion. I would not recommend going into the Aries ascendant. Because with a Pisces ascendant, you get to be Jupiter in Pisces, who is unafflicted by another planet. A little bit slow, but fine. But if you move into Aries, then you get Mars in Gemini as your ruler. And Mars in Gemini is, of course, retrograde. And I never really recommend having the ruler of the first house retrograde in a talismanic operation. Just never seems to work out very well for people. I caught him again. So now we're going to move into the Australian continent. That was all that we had for North America for this lunation. So our first electional opportunity for Australia is going to take place on November 28th, and that is going to start at around 5:56 a.m., so just before sunrise, just before 6 o'clock for you guys. And this is going to be that opportunity for the 24th Lunar Mansion. I forgot which one it was for a second. For that 24th Lunar Mansion. And the 24th Lunar Mansion is one that is very helpful for multiplication, for increasing things, for fertility, kind of in general. So very useful for people who are looking to increase things, maybe who are looking to conceive a child, or who are wanting a little bit more financial success or prosperity in that regard. The 24th Lunar Mansion can be very, very helpful. Ideally, the tradition tells us... Oh, bye, Lee. He's suddenly very interested about whatever sound he's hearing coming from the kitchen. So the 24th Lunar Mansion is very useful for individuals who are looking to increase something, whether that be like financial, like increase money, increase their family size, increase their collection of something, cats, for instance, or things like that. The tradition tells us that we are to have some kind of sympathetic connection between the item that we make the talisman with and what we want to see increased. So traditionally it would be, you use a bull's horn if you want to increase your cattle herd. You would use a ram's horn if you want to increase, your sheep herd, things like that. So that can be one way to think about it. You can kind of keep it within that traditional context, and that's kind of neat. Or of course you can venture out and just use on paper and tell it, I would like increase on this. Usually I recommend people write the image or draw the image on some kind of monetary note if they're going for financial reasons. I've seen that to be very helpful, so I pass that on to you and encourage you to do so if that's something that you're interested in. Taking a look at our election on November 28th, we have the moon in the 24th Lunar Mansion, but here she's placed in the third house, which is her house of joy. Generally, I like the moon to be on the ascendant or the midheaven, but if I can't get her there, the third is a really great option as well. And so that's what I ended up having to do here. At the same time, the moon is applying a very, very, very close sextile to Jupiter in Pisces, which is super great. So Jupiter as a greater benefic in Pisces, a sign it does very well in, is really there to help you pump out as much of whatever it is that you can kind of grab your hands on. I always think about like those, those game shows where somebody like goes into like something that looks like an old school payphone, the kind of like the payphone style thing, like the glass payphone style. Y'all remember those? The things that Superman used to change into, or change in. I guess he didn't change into one, but he changed in one. And they just like shoot them full of money and they try to grab as much as they can. I feel like that's the 24th Lunar Mansion. Like that's the best that we've been able to come up with on here is that. So very helpful to have. At the same time, Jupiter rules the first house. Jupiter is unafflicted. We're far enough away from the Mars square to not really have to worry about it. We've got the Sun, Mercury, and Venus all in the first house, kind of giving us an extra bump there. All in all, a really great election for this. keeping it in that early Sagittarius is really preferable, because the further into Sagittarius you go, the more likely you are to run into that Mars opposition. And you can only go so far anyway without the moon moving into the second, which is not preferred. The moon does not really do as well in the second, even though you would think that would potentially be better. Or maybe not better, might be fine, because we're talking about finances, potentially. And the moon in the second about finances, but that's not really, that doesn't tend to be how it works out. Hi. All right. Nope, that's not going to work. I thought you let me hold him. Our next election opportunity for Australia is going to be on December 2nd, just around 10 a.m. And this is going to be an opportunity for a 28th Lunar Mansion talisman. So the 28th Lunar Mansion is one that is traditionally associated with success in fishing. The idea being that you would carry the talisman with you when you went fishing. You would drop it in the water, and fish would end up kind of congregating in that spot as if it were some sort of really cool magical bait. That is still absolutely a application that you can use for it. If that's something that you're interested in, maybe you are a fisher, maybe you enjoy fishing as a hobby or as a relaxation activity. I would not recommend using it to help you win like a fishing contest. I guess knock yourself out. I take it back. Do it. Use it to win a fishing contest. But you don't have to use it that way if that's not something that seems super applicable to you in your life. The 28th Lunar Mansion is also very useful for helping to kind of bring in opportunities to help you pick for them, kind of like drawing in those fish that you would then catch. So very helpful for drawing in opportunities, especially if you're somebody who doesn't quite know exactly what it is that you're looking for. If you're like between jobs, or maybe not even between, or just, looking for something a little bit better, but don't know exactly what that looks like. Or in the middle of trying to find a new relationship, or, whatever situation you're in, that you just kind of want to have more opportunities, more financial opportunities, more income streams, things like that. The 28th Lunar Mansion is very helpful for. And in this election, we've kind of repeated some of the themes that we did for our previous election, because apparently the only way I'm going to get Australian charts to work right now is to put the moon in the third house. And like I said before, that's not the worst place the moon could be. The moon in the third house is really nice. That's her house of joy. It's just not one of my necessarily top houses. Lee left me to go sit in a chair, so now you got Ty. And Ty's actually really good for ASMR. She is the loudest purr in my house, so enjoy that. Let me put the microphone closer to her. But taking a look at our election, we have the moon conjoined Jupiter in the third house in the 28th Lunar Mansion. And Jupiter is just a really great planet to have here because Jupiter is, of course, the Lord of Plenty himself, the greater benefic who wants things to be stabilized so there can be room for growth and gain and opportunity. And that is exactly what the 28th Lunar Mansion wants as well. So they both work very well together in this regard. Unfortunately, I was not able to get an opportunity for a Jupiter talisman for Australia, which really sucked. As you can see, Jupiter and Venus, the moon and Jupiter are both very close here, just with the moon in the third house. So by the time that the moon and Jupiter make it to the first house, the moon's already past the conjunction. So it did not land out very well for Australia, and I'm very sorry that happened to you guys. That sucks. But our third and our final opportunity for Lunar Mansion talismans for Australia is going to take place on December 3rd at around 9:39 in the morning. This is going to be that opportunity for the first Lunar Mansion talisman. Another situation where we had to have the moon in the third house. The first Lunar Mansion is one that is very much focused on giving people the energy to move forward and accomplish things, to help kickstart or initiate projects. Very helpful for overcoming any kind of inertia or cat. Yes. Cat. Very helpful for coming any kind of inertia or pushback that might be keeping you from accomplishing whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, whether that's procrastination or depression or chronic fatigue. or just kind of demotivation, not really knowing where to go or what you want to do, the first lunar mansion is very helpful at being like, hey, listen, you got a presentation due, you got to do it. The only way out is through, and here's the energy and drive to help you get through. So all in all, I really like the first lunar mansion for this. It of course has a little bit more like malefic kind of connotations or powers as well, but we're not really going to tap into that in a waxing moon kind of talisman anyway, so I don't super worry about it in this regard. Taking a look at our election, the moon is in the 3rd house again, because that's the only way I could get her to work in Australia apparently. Oh, scratch her face. And in this, she is still applying that trine to the sun like she was in the North American version. And I really enjoyed the sun-moon trine in this. Okay, I've lost all my cats. I'm out of cats. What a nightmare. All right, so both of my co-hosts have quit, so now you're stuck with me for the rest of this. I'm very sorry. I know this is not what you came here for. I know that this is not what you came here for. But I really enjoy the Sun Moon Trine for this, not only because I enjoy Sun Moon Trines in Lunar Mansions in general, but also because I enjoy them when they are appropriate, as in this case where the sun is a representative of the vital force and kind of cosmic energy. And so the moon applying to that and bringing that into the talisman is also very, very helpful for giving people that energy or helping people tap into that energy that helps them move forward and accomplish things. So let this be the way forward for you. At the same time, we're looking at the ruler of the 1st house, which is this Saturn in Aquarius. Saturn's not afflicted by Mars in this. They're trine. Saturn's not combust. Saturn's not retrograde. All in all, Saturn's doing well. Same thing for the moon, who is not afflicted by either Mars or Saturn herself. And that's what we want. That's what we want. That's what we sign up for. All right, so that was all that we had for Australia. Now we're going to move into Western Europe and North Africa. And our first election opportunity for this part of the world is going to take place on December 1st at 1946, so just about 7:45. And this is going to be that double option of one or the other, either the 28th Lunar Mansion Talisman or the Jupiter Planetary Talisman. And that's going to be up to you about which one you prefer. The 28th Lunar Mansion is a mansion that is traditionally associated with assistance in fishing. The idea being you would make this talisman, carry it with you when you went out fishing, drop it into the water, and fish would congregate around it like some kind of magical bait. Then you would just kind of, take your pick of whatever fish. You can absolutely use it for fishing if you want, but I tend to recommend using it for people who are wanting to kind of gather up more opportunities for themselves, whether those are relationship opportunities, financial opportunities, which tends to be the one that I think the 28th Lunar Mansion responds to the best, or like work opportunities or things like that. So that can be one way to work with the 28th Lunar Mansion. That's what the 28th Lunar Mansion would do. And looking at the chart from the 28th Lunar Mansion perspective, the moon's in the 28th mansion, conjoined the midheaven. She's also applying the conjunction with Jupiter, which is very powerful, very useful for this kind of talisman, since Jupiter itself wants things to grow and, wants things to multiply and wants there to be fortune had all around, which the 28th Lunar Mansion also helps with. There's a really strong similitude with this one in the way that we saw in earlier charts with Jupiter in the 24th Lunar Mansion as well. At the same time, the moon rules the 1st house. The moon is unafflicted by Mars or Saturn. Jupiter is unafflicted by Mars or Saturn. Everything's just, safe and peachy keen, we'll say. But this can also be a Jupiter planetary talisman, because while Jupiter is in Pisces and the moon is applying to Jupiter on an angle, it's also both Jupiter's day and hour, which are usually the pieces that we miss out on. So we have both Jupiter's day and hour in this instance, which is definitely ideal. You don't get to see it very often, and this is it. The downside is that Jupiter is actually moving very slowly. It's not stationed exactly, but it is direct and moving slower than Saturn. So that's something to take into consideration if you want to move forward with this as a Jupiter planetary talisman. I would say yes to this one if you're somebody who would like a Jupiter planetary talisman and has not had an opportunity to get one, because once this one is gone, we're done. But I would probably tell you no if you already have one and it's performing well, just because that slowness is probably going to be a setback in some extent, and that's probably mostly going to be in being able to have the talisman manifest something for you. So you'll be working on it for a little bit before the talisman actually provides you anything, which may or may not be, a bad thing. Can you wait for good things to come to you? And that's kind of really what you're going to have to ask yourself is whether it's worth the wait, because there might be one. Our second opportunity for North Africa and Western Europe is going to take place on December 2nd, this time at just before 2 p.m. at 13:58 is what this chart is set for. And this is going to be that opportunity for that first Lunar Mansion talisman. So the first Lunar Mansion is a talisman that is very much focused on invigorating the body, giving us energy, helping us to move forward and initiate things, get the ball rolling on projects, get things started, especially if we have struggled to get it started in the past, if it's something that we're working really hard to get started or just can't really find the motivation or energy or even resources, whether that's internal or external, to get something off the ground. The first Lunar Mansion is very helpful in giving us that push to do it. So definitely think about utilizing this mansion specifically for projects that take you some time to do or to build habits that you're struggling to build for one reason or another. The first Lunar Mansion can be very helpful to help you, kind of get started going to the gym or, whatever you need it for, even if it's just, to help you clean your house more often or, whatever. We all have our things that we struggle with or, things that we push off for too long because we just don't have the space for it. It's totally fine. The first Lunar Mansion is just there to help you overcome that barrier to doing it. Taking a look at our election, we have the moon in the first house in the first Lunar Mansion, and she is applying the trine to the sun. Sun trines are one of my favorite aspects for Lunar Mansion talismans, but especially when they are appropriate, just like this one where the sun represents energy and heat. For astrology in general, the sun is the planet that kind of invigorates all the other planets and gives them the strength that they need to move on and continue their cycles or start their cycle anew. So it's really nice to kind of have that brought into this. At the same time, you have the Jupiter in the first house as a stabilizing influence, if you would like to look at it that way. Jupiter rules the first house, and I would recommend keeping this Pisces ascendant and not dipping into the Aries ascendant, because the Jupiter, the moon being ruled by, the ascendant being ruled by Jupiter, even if Jupiter is kind of slow, in this chart is preferable to the Aries ascendant, where then you would have the retrograde Mars. Because retrograde Mars isn't going to help you do anything forward-thinking motivated. So you definitely don't want to incorporate that kind of retrograde energy in a talisman that's very much focused about like spearheading forward. And then our final electional opportunity for Northern Africa and Western Europe and for the video is going to be on the 6th of December at 15:41. And this is going to be the opportunity for a fifth Lunar Mansion talisman, which is unique to this location. The fifth Lunar Mansion is one that is very much focused on the mind, particularly on its growth and its growing. So the fifth Lunar Mansion can be very helpful for people who are studying, who are trying to learn new things, whether that's, studying in, a more formal setting, like in a university or anything like that, or like some kind of trade school, or in more kind of like self-imposed learning, we'll say, whether that's just helping you accomplish research or you want to take a class online. Or you want to study like autodidactically, study on your own for a thing. The fifth Lunar Mansion is very helpful for that. But there's also this other side of the fifth Lunar Mansion where it's very focused on the dream world. So the fifth Lunar Mansion can be very helpful for people who are looking to experience their dreams a little bit more fully. For people who would like to have help in lucid dreaming experiences, kind of controlling their dream and their sleep experiences. And for having, for helping them kind of cross over into the more like prophetic type of dreaming experiences, dreaming of the future, having premonitions in dreams, or even being visited, having visitations in your dreams by various spiritual entities or spirits of the deceased. The fifth Lunar Mansion can really help you accomplish that. It's a really interesting talisman to work with and utilize. Here in our election, the moon is applying the sextile to Jupiter at the very end of Pisces. And that's a fine election. That's a fine aspect to have. The Jupiter in Pisces here isn't what I would call like necessarily super thematically appropriate in a way that some of the other planets might have been, like the sun, for instance. But I do like Jupiter's power here, just because Jupiter is very supportive and stabilizing, which can be very helpful, especially for people who are kind of looking to the fifth Lunar Mansion to help them overcome nightmare experiences. Maybe this is the talisman that is kind of super focused on that because of Jupiter's ability here. So, or if you're somebody who kind of like would like to experience lucid dreaming but has the bad luck of always waking themselves up, maybe this is an opportunity to look at that. But going a little bit deeper into the election, we do have Venus as the ruler of the first house in this chart. Venus is far enough away from the Mars aspect to not really have to worry about that. She's not afflicted by Saturn as well, and she's far enough from the sun to not have to worry about combustion. So Venus is also doing very well in this chart. Even though I know a lot of people probably would be finding the Mars-Venus opposition to be a little dicey in some of these elections, where I've tried to keep it a little bit more de-emphasized. But alrighty, everybody, thank you guys so much for being here on our kind of first back to normal talismanic electional video that we've had for a while now. I guess it's been more like 6 to 8 weeks since we've had kind of more normal electional opportunities, a more normal amount of electional opportunities. There was a while there we just didn't really have a lot going on, so it's great to be able to share with you guys some more fun things than just like the bottom of the barrel, like I guess this will work, to give you something to do, which is kind of how I felt like I was doing for a little bit there. So really great to have this kind of celestial harmony back, this kind of celestial attitude, this shift in tone back after the eclipses, which is not abnormal, I don't think. But the last eclipses were kind of especially rough because of what else was kind of going on at the same time. But thank you guys so much for being here and watching mainly the cats do cat things. I really appreciate that. Special shout out to all my patrons who get to have their own kind of unique experiences with cats, with the cats in Patreon bonuses. So if you're interested in supporting the channel and helping me feed these furry attention-seeking beasts, make sure to check out the Patreon and all the bonus goodies that you get as a part of that, whether that's talismanic goodies and gifts when available, being able to see the cats kind of whenever, or various community building through different communication means, book clubs, and even special guest stars. Make sure to check that out and sign up. I really appreciate it. And of course, I really appreciate you being here and watching these videos with me. So thank you guys so much. Take care, and I will see you again on the Gemini Full Moon.